Hello, everyone. Welcome to the tech capital of the world. My name is Bobby Davis. I'm the CEO and founder of Coder Foundry, and I'm joined by Kevin Doyle, the best producer in the land. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good. We're here for a Thursday
Check out
with
my new
no
thing,
technical
man.
issues.
I got a new thing. Like, look at this, like silver and gray Coldest water bottle.
I do like that color. That is cool. I do like
And
that
mine
one.
now has a straw, so I don't have to try to get the water all over my mouth when I'm drinking. So it's good.
That one doesn't have the cool Coder Foundry branding though. This is one you actually purchased, right?
No, this is my personal water bottle.
You actually went and purchased this one.
I like the gray and silver. That's kind of cool.
It is. It is cool. I don't have mine today. I have my Outer Banks Yeti one today. Switch them out. Got to keep them clean. I don't want to keep the same one all the time.
Yep.
I was going to keep washing that Coldest Water one, which not a sponsor of the video today, but you know the link is always down below.
We're just showing you it's kind of cool. So if you see me sucking on it, so
the link is down below. You get I think you get 10% off or something, which
it's a pretty good deal. I mean, I bought mine with the link, so you know.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, you got to use your own link, right? That's part of the deal, isn't it? I'm going to queue up some questions. We'll do usual Q&A today. We'll get to all that good stuff. I'm going to do a shameless plug first, just because we never do a shameless plug up front. But anybody that's new here, looking to learn to code, you can always go to learn.coderfoundry.com and take our online self-paced course, which just opened up.
Come to the virtual bootcamp, which opens up this fall. The fall bootcamp starts in September. So if you want to,
we just have a class started, right? So that's looking great. So we have another one September something. I forget the day off the top of my head. But yeah, so check us out. We would love for you to join us. Let me see here. First things, I want to talk about one thing first before we jump into questions, and I have queued your questions up because some of you already had questions straight away.
Okay, yeah.
I will answer this one first though. Is the interesting viz always this cool? Yes, it is, Manny. Come by every time. It is always that cool. New song today.
That's a new song today. I like that little little scratch.
Yeah, it's good, right? So sometimes I'll be like, let's just switch it up with a new song, and I'll spend maybe 5 minutes looking on our song provider and be like, yeah, okay, I like that one, and I'll go with it. Yeah. So if it appeals to me straight away, I'll just be like, yeah, I like that one. That was good. Today it's got all the beats and the heavy bass. If you're listening to it on our headphones, by the way, the bass on that one song is it's nuts. It's really it's super bassy, super bassy. So yeah, thanks for coming out, Annie, and joining us. We appreciate it. And as Redamentus says, smash the like. We appreciate that.
Smash the likes, man. Give us the likes button. Hey, and always, if you want to super chat us, if you just have a burning question, super chat us up, and we'll get to that one straight away. Otherwise, just queue them up, and we'll answer all your questions today.
Yep, we're gonna do our best to go down the list.
That I had on my thing that we didn't cover on Tuesday, but what did you think about Jeff Bezos going to space? Sort of.
I love that there's like a caveat at the end of it. What do you think about Jeff Bezos going to space? Sort of.
Sort of.
I mean,
like they're calling him astronaut Bezos. I'm like, dude, you got to make a lap around the Earth. I mean, I understand it's a great achievement. I'll never go to space, but you got to make a lap around the Earth to be an astronaut.
I totally agree. I think there's some kind of prerequisite. It has to be, right? That you have to do one circle around, right?
F9 went to space. Fast and Furious, those guys went to space. I mean, that's going to space.
Did they go in a car? I've not seen that movie. Did they go in a car?
They went in a car.
Oh, geez, of course they did.
Of course, a gas pedal and a shifter. You had to shift. They put it into gear.
That's funny.
It was funny.
That movie's grounded in reality, isn't it? Really, it's totally the most real movie you're ever going to come across. That's too funny.
Realistic. It's not a Dodge commercial at all. So
Yeah. I did see all of the memes around Jeff Bezos' rocket being similar to the one in Austin Powers, which was phallic. So I was like, that's kind of funny. Like okay. I saw all those going around. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny. Jeff Bezos is Dr. Evil.
I have a group that I play video games with, and they were all talking on the chat the other night. That was saying that they thought Jeff Bezos' rocket would explode, so he would fake his death, so he could rule the world without,
from his secret lair.
Yeah,
he's literally Dr. Evil. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
So he went to space, sort of. I mean, that's why. I
mean, is Bill Gates the only guy in this category not sending himself to space? Is he the only one? Everybody else seems to be on the space race. I think Bill's got it in his back pocket. He's like, until I can circle around the Earth once, I'm not going to bother. I think he knows what's up. He's like, I'm not going to do this space thing until I can really do this space thing. He's going to land on the moon or something. That's what's going to happen.
That's probably what it is. That's the Microsoft way, right? Copy what everyone does.
Exactly.
And then blow them out of the water with it. You know?
That's it. That's it. That's funny. That's pretty funny. Let's jump straight to questions because there's we got some already.
There's one question that I like off the bat that I really like because I was actually talking to some students about this the other day.
Yeah, this one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So read that one out.
This is Alantino/Alantonio, which I love the name change on Discord, by the way.
Yeah,
he's listed as that. I love it. Says, guys, how can I fight the temptation to not try to memorize everything? Any helpful strategies?
So we fight this in the beginning of the bootcamp all the time where people are trying to memorize everything that we show at them. And so like in general, when you go to school, specifically in the US, typically all of your learning all the way through college, which even when my son went to a college and I saw one of his very first programming tests was multiple choice programming tests, in other words, like memorize. And you just can't learn how to code that way because it's not a memorization type thing. So what you have to do is figure out what you want to do. And this is how you switch your thinking. So let's say that you're building an app called Fizz Buzz, like one of our JavaScript challenges in the class. You need to look at it and go, what does this thing do? Well, it has a button on the page. Then what does the app do? Someone clicks on the button. All right. So then what happens when the button clicks? And so notice I haven't even talked about coding or anything like that. I'm just talking about the workflow of how we're going through this. And that's why we start with wireframes and we get the flow down. So then once you have like the events and the things and all the things that need to happen, then you can start filling that in with like functional code at that point and you can Google it. So like, for example, in Fizz Buzz, when you click a button, it needs to execute a function. And then that function needs to grab values from the page, like, the different Fizz Buzz values, 3 or 5 or whatever you do. And so you need to Google that in JavaScript or C# or whatever. How do I get values from the page? Like, how do I do that? How does that work? The other thing that helps you is MVC and being a pattern helps you know that once you know the pattern, then everything, all these sites are kind of very similar in how they operate and how they do it. So try to know what you want to do instead of trying to figure out how to memorize syntax. You'll memorize things by the things that you use most all the time. And then the ones that you don't know, you'll just know, hey, I need to do this. How do I do that? And then you can Google that and learn the new syntax that you need to learn.
Yeah, and I think also just actively knowing that this is an issue for you too.
Yeah.
And just actively knowingly not trying to memorize everything is a technique too, right? Just know that if you come across something, try not to kind of be like, oh, I must remember that, gotta remember that, because that's a thing too. Just use it, move on. If you do remember it, like you said,
you'll remember how to make a for loop. You'll remember how to declare a function in JavaScript. You'll remember that lines should end in semicolons. There's a battle going on saying now that you shouldn't end your lines in semicolons because it's not required. It's technically still required. It's just that if you leave it out, sometimes the compiler will help you out and add it in for you. But like, you should always do it still to this day because it can run into like weird bugs.
A couple of things related to this too. Then Matthew says, coding tests in college make me want to jump off a cliff. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
You expect me to be able to reverse a linked list or binary tree from memory? Yeah, pointless.
Yeah.
Like what?
Why don't you use an IDE for those coding tests?
This is open book, man. Because on the job, you're never going to remember. You're not expected to remember it. Yeah. Silly.
It's just silly. I mean, it's just dumb. I mean, like this just doesn't reflect what you do.
Here you go too. How can we calculate the depth of a software developer's knowledge in 30 minutes? This is kind of a related question, but not really. But
it depends on what you want them to build and stuff like that too. Everyone's knowledge depth is different. So like,
I think you can actually figure it out in a shorter period of time if you look at their portfolio.
I can now. I mean, I
probably,
can, but
No, but I'm saying like if you look at somebody's portfolio and you have a good like. Trivia isn't the way to do this. You can't figure out how somebody's knowledge is in 30 minutes using trivia. That's just not going to happen. But you could do it based on their history, their portfolio, like what they've built before, you can figure it out that way.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a better barometer of like, can somebody code and what is their skill level?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay, the next one here. Sean wants to know, for the branding stuff, will we need an SVG of the logo and mark in an off-white and transparent background and an off-black and transparent background?
I think you can use both if you want to use them on either or. So like, let's say that you have a dark background, you need a white version, and then you need a dark version that can go well on white background things. So
yeah,
I think if you look at, well, you're in the self-paced course. I've never shown this, but the Coder Foundry branding kit has all versions of that. So
thanks,
Valentino, Alantonio, tacos for everyone. All right, man. I like the tacos. Thank you, man. Thanks a lot, Antonio.
Yes, thank you.
So, but yeah, I think, Sean, basically you need a dark version and a light version of your logo so that it looks well on either or wherever you want to place it.
Yeah, and that's
and
like
same thing for your mark too.
From a design perspective, that is always something to take into consideration when you are designing something. If you truly designing something, you have to design it that's going to work both like mono dark and mono light. So a white version and a black version, or some variation of a dark and light version.
Yeah.
That is something to take into account. But as far as it being an SVG, I mean, it can be. It doesn't have to be. You can make it a transparent PNG if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think PNGs and SVGs are like the two ways you can do it.
Yeah,
SVGs are more scalable, but I don't know. They both have their uses.
They do. They SVGs really are only scalable if you make them correctly in the first place. Don't forget too. Yeah, so they have to be the correct. So you can fake an SVG. That's the thing too. It can be pixel based.
Bitmap embedded in it.
Exactly. It can be a bitmap SVG, which is like, okay, that doesn't work because it's not vector anymore. It's like it's a bitmap, so it's pixels, and that's why when you blow it up, it's still going to look pixelated. A true SVG is going to be vector based, and therefore you could blow it up the size of a billboard and it's going to look great, or you can make it tiny and it's going to look great. So that's kind of the difference. But if you're slapping it on a website and it's either looking on mobile or a desktop, and you're scaling it to a certain size anyway, it doesn't really matter. The size of the file matters more. Yeah, the size of the file matters more than the format of the file. As long as it's small, don't be over a meg, and then you'll be good.
All right, hope that helps, Sean.
Okay.
Sean is in our self-paced course making cool things. So like we've seen some stuff he's making, so that's kind of cool.
We'll see some. Let me stop it and re-push it back out.
All right.
Give it another shot. Okay, I think we're back on. Yeah, we are. There we go. Sorry about that. That wasn't you guys. That was me again for some reason. I thought my internet was back on without technical issues, but apparently not. Or it could have been YouTube because it was weird because we kept. So I don't know. All right, cool. Antoine says he was about to call his
again.
About to call his ISP.
All right.
That's funny. Don't. I think I need to call my ISP and yell at them again.
Yeah, I think it's your ISP, Kevin. So like,
yeah, it's kind of crazy. I do need to figure it out. But it's like it's so intermittent. It's like such a weird issue to have. I don't know. It's just a very very strange thing. But yeah, where were we? Let's go back to this one. Go on to my next question. Herbert says, just want to ask, when you deploy a web app in production, do you have separate repo for front end and back end?
Oh, no. But I do think that you have different branches in your repo, one for production and one for working on it. So typically you deploy the web app as a whole unit and you stick it out there. Now, if you've separated it and you have like a web API backend, those could be different projects. And typically what you're doing there is you have a more complex deployment scenario where you're deploying multiple repos out at the same time. So like, but in general, you typically have a project that you're deploying. And we teach in the self-paced course and in Coder Foundry is that those should be different branches in your, so you have like your main branch and then you have like a dev branch or some kind of feature branch that you're working off of. And then you merge that in there. And then once you merge it into main, that CI/CD process, which stands for continued integration and continuous deployment, can take over and publish your app at that point. So If people are bringing in multiple projects, which is a very complex scenario, then they're scripting this to write their deployment scripts that do this, that pull it off multiple branches or looking at multiple repos. But if it's just you typically have one repo for a project. So, but we haven't, typically they're not separated from front end and back end.
So is there generally a way, if you're working on a team of people then and you're all working on this same thing, is that generally like somebody who handles the merging side of things? Is that like somebody's job generally?
Okay. Yeah, especially for big things, they're merging things, merge code. So like you'll have typically if you have like 80 feature branches and you have 80 developers working on their own dev branch, then they're trying to merge those back into typically QA or something like that. And then they have to get through that merge process. And then they take QA, maybe push it to staging, and then staging goes to production, something like that.
Okay. It can be, I mean, that I can see that being
really more complex when you bring in web farms and things like that, where you're trying to push to multiple machines. And then that's when we used something here called Octopus or Team City, which allowed us to push these listeners on multiple machines, and it would look at the repos. And then you could push, and then it would just, scale them out across the web farm, things like that, when it gets very complex. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
In general, it works the same way. Like, in general, we have a repo that we're looking at, a specific branch we're looking at, and then we pull from that branch, and then we copy it to the web server. Whether that's 1 or 30, doesn't really matter.
Interesting.
Hope that helps.
This is why my internet's not working. Look, we dissed. Let's not even say his name. Let's not even say his name anymore. Apparently, he has listeners out there. That's just anybody who makes fun of my spaceship.
Who's this Bobby character telling me I'm not an astronaut?
It's like, cut him off.
Cut him off. I mean, the reason you're not an astronaut is because you left your spaceship with a cowboy hat on. I mean, like, come on, man, you got to have your space helmet on.
He was in Texas. Did they even have helmets? I don't know if they did. Did they? I didn't watch it. Did they have helmets when they went up? Yeah, did they not? I only saw them when they were up there and floating around.
The inside of it. What the other conspiracy theories? They didn't show there was no cameras on the inside. So, like, was he in there or not? I don't know, man.
Well, no, he was. I saw video afterwards. I did see video afterwards where they were floating.
Post-production, yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. Yeah. When they were back down on the Earth, they just. Oh, okay. I see. But they did have weightless, though. I did see that.
Yeah.
I saw his picture with his high mom thing.
I'm just saying, Tom Cruise is laughing at that. You just went once. Do you know how many times I had to do that for Mission Impossible? We have like 40 takes, and I had to do it at the right time.
That's funny.
I did 30 Halo jumps. I mean, like,
that's probably going to be the next thing. That's probably going to be the next thing. Tom Cruise is going to be like, so what's it going to take for us to actually film something in space?
Oh, actually, they're going to the space station in the next movie.
Are they really?
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, for the next Mission Impossible, he'll be on the space station.
That's crazy.
See, Tom Cruise is going to be an actual astronaut, which is...
He's going to orbit. That's going to be a joke in the movie, isn't it? Too. It's going to be like, no, I didn't go to space like Bezos. Oh. Sorry, I said his name now. We're going to get cut off again. Sorry.
I know, yeah, exactly. We're going to get banned from Amazon for buying anything. So
he has friends over at YouTube too that just keep cutting us off.
Yeah, exactly. They're all friends.
That's funny. Hey, look, Courtney's working on the JS in the course and just paused the video to join here. So thanks. We appreciate it. Thanks
Hello,
for coming
Courtney.
over.
How are you doing? Great.
Thanks for coming over. Let's see. I love Europe and North America. How to come up with solutions for small businesses using web development / mobile development and solve their problems so we can charge them. Okay. Do you have any advice, tips, examples, guidance? So how do you come up with
be a freelancer / consulting company?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that you want to come up with, and it's you identify the pain point. So you need to look around as you walk through your life and look for pain points that people are having that software can solve. Now, a lot of times the problem comes when software developers make solutions looking for a problem, and those are the ones that don't sell. The ones that sell are when you find the pain point and you build a solution that makes that pain point go away. It makes it simpler to do. So now the cool thing is, like in general in our software development environment, just because it's been solved once doesn't mean you shouldn't enter that marketplace. So, and when you're looking at things that you can like build systems wise, finding a truly unique problem sometimes is a red flag saying, maybe it's not worth solving. You know,
because you're not the first person to think of it, definitely.
Right, yeah.
But you're the first person to solve it because other people have determined that it wasn't worth solving.
It was not worth solving. The cost doesn't line up, or it's not really a problem. I'll just do it manually.
Yep.
But you can also look at things that are very manual processes. So like you can look at manual processes that could be automated through software. And I think those are types of scenarios that you can do. And then if this was 10 years ago when I gave this same seminar at UNC Greensboro, like how to develop ideas, was at the time I was saying, look for things that can be shared across platforms, like a resource that can be shared, and then rent that out as a thing, not knowing that when I was saying that, like someone was going to make Uber, Airbnb, and everything else like that. It's like, not that I'm a genius. I think a lot of people in my space had the same idea at once, right. So, like, hey, let's do this. And then, there's also hyper local things. I think right now is kind of hot, where you can say, how can I serve my hyper local market, which is like maybe 5 miles neighborhood. And you've seen neighborhood watch apps pop up. You've seen Let It Go pop up, where you sell something and it's like just around your area. And really what they're doing is copying something like Craigslist and putting another spin on it and things like that. And those have popped up. I mean, I think fractional use of things, renting things fractionally is kind of interesting. Has it all been done? I don't know, man. You got Uber, you've got DoorDash, you've got Jets. I mean, but there's probably others out there that haven't been thought of yet. So anyway, I don't know. So to sum it up, since you love Europe and North America, automate a manual process, look for a pain point that can be solved with software, and maybe look at things like hyperlocal and fractional renting.
Yep.
Hope that helps.
Who would have thought? Have you heard of Turo, by the way? Have you seen that?
I haven't heard of that. No.
So who would have thought this would have been a thing? It's basically it's kind of like Uber, except it's self-drive. So you rent your car out to somebody. You say, oh, I'm on the Turo app. You register your car, and you let them rent your car.
Okay. Fractional use
exactly. But who would have thought that could have been a working thing? Like, I think 5 years ago, you'd have been like, well, nobody will do that. You don't want somebody's terrible beat-up car, and somebody's going to be like, well, I don't want people to beat up my nice car. So, and it's crazy. And apparently it's working pretty well. I have a friend who just used it who said it was great. So...
I mean, we have car rental agencies already. It's just you're taking your personal car and renting it out fractionally.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Imagine when we're all self-driving cars and that's a thing. Like, owning a car doesn't even have to be a thing anymore.
Yes.
You don't
I
have to.
would rent my self-driving car out.
Oh yeah.
100%. Go pick someone up. You lock the front door. They can't get to the front door.
I actually don't think I would even own one. I would just rent somebody else's. Like, you wouldn't need one. Yeah, I'd be calling yours up all the time. Like, because when let's say you get to the office, right? You go from home to the office. Your car just sits there. Yeah. Like, instead of just sitting there, it can go out and like go do whatever it needs to do and come back and charge, and then go out and do whatever it needs to do.
Store,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do love that idea. When we get full autonomy, that's going to be an app.
A self-driving car that can go just pick up food, and like all it does is like it drives to the restaurant.
No, that's
the person
true.
Drops in the back seat.
Well, that's true.
And then the car drives to the person's house. They open up the back door and get it.
Yes. Well, think about this right now. This has become a big thing in the pandemic, right? Is like store pickup, like curbside pickup became a giant thing.
Yeah.
You can do it at all the big stores. All the big stores have it. You want to go to get something from Target, curbside pickup. You don't have to set foot in the store anymore. So you're right. Why do you even have to be in the car? Your car shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
Its trunk lifts up. The person from Target puts the bag in there. They close the trunk. They say, done. And then bam, your car rides off back home again. I mean, I don't even have to go to the store anymore. I don't even have to drive to the store anymore. Like, I like that idea.
Yeah, you just got to have a driverless car. A little bit more,
Well, but we're close. I don't know if Elon can just get it going a little bit better. We'll be we'll get there.
I think so. I think we're about 5 years out, but like it's coming.
Yeah,
for sure.
Somebody says here you go. Big Alt says the Dominos car. Yeah, have you seen those? In some cities you have those automatic Dominos car. Yeah, but like that for like everything.
Everything. Uber Eats style.
Not just pizza. Yeah, it'll go anywhere. It'll pick up anything. That would be cool. And there's the industrial version too, where it picks up like big pieces of furniture, or something. Not just regular shopping. You pick up things that are just
the last mile.
Things, because the last mile is a big. So there's a problem you can solve. If you can solve that with software, that'd be amazing. The last mile of any delivery is.
Expo Logistics is a company here that we've worked with that they solve the last mile.
Yeah,
basically, they have a hub and UPS drops it off, and then they take the couch to Peloton to whatever.
And imagine if that was automated. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though. True story is like I had bought a Peloton, and these two dudes brought my Peloton, and then it was like 3 months later, and I got a refrigerator delivered, and it was the same two guys. So like, that's funny. And apparently, it's like Expo Logistics had a deal with Peloton and like Lowe's Hardware, Lowe's Hardware. So like, it's kind of funny. So,
yeah, that's interesting. And
I mean, two guys.
Yeah, and where we are, that's one problem to solve because we're kind of, I would say we're more rural, not city, right? It's more rural than anything. Yeah. So it's like delivering to us is an easy thing. But if you're in New York City on the 71st floor of some building, that's a whole different like logistics problem. That last mile delivery is like, that's a challenge.
Yeah. Can I just drop this on the sidewalk?
Right. I don't know if there's a software solution for that, but maybe there isn't.
No.
Robots. Skynet's going to do that. Let's see. Next, Zach says, in the .NET projects, will we be building the HTML from scratch with Bootstrap or using templates? Any plans to add any course material on front-end frameworks like React? You should ask.
So in .NET, you're using something called Razor, and those are templates that are built. They'll be scaffolded out from .NET, and then we also teach you how to take an HTML template and put that on top of the current out templates. So I think that's what you need to be focused on. So here's our view on this whole thing. We're building full stack projects. We want you to show said full stack project to a customer so that you can get hired for a job. So for us, knowing how to build an actual functional HTML5 CSS template from scratch isn't what we're trying to do, because that's not what they're going to pay you to do. And so like a lot of people are going to use these templates anyway. So know how to do that. Then your project looks better. And if it looks better, people think it functions better. And if they believe it functions better, you'll get more interview offers. Having said that, we are going to add front-end frameworks. We'll probably focus on Blazor first. But all of our front-end frameworks that we will do, it'll probably be Blazor and React, will be backed with Web API, because we feel like that is the direction this industry is going to go versus something like Node.js. So like when you look at Node.js and then you move into the enterprise, these bigger projects, typically those are Web API. In fact, I was talking to a guy the other day that works for United Airlines, and he's like doing all of this stuff at United Airlines. And they were using Angular on the front end, but the entire back end was C#.NET with Web API using something called microservices, but that's more of a pattern of how you deploy it, but the back end was all Web API. And we're talking like 25 million requests per hour or day or something like that, something just enormous scalability. And you just don't do that with Node. I know I just probably just caused a lot of people to throw rocks at the TV, but like you could do it. But like I'm just telling you that the enterprise itself moves that way, which I think is where all of the work is anyway. And so like, that's how we're going to teach it. So we need to make a video on .NET 6 and like what's coming down the pipe, Kevin, because it's pretty exciting what's happening. So I can't hear you at all.
Oh, there we go. You couldn't.
There you go. I couldn't hear you. Yeah.
I had to mute and unmute myself again. Weird.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. Technical problems today, man. I don't know. Oh, well. Hey, oh, well. Oh, well.
Typically, we're 3 p.m. on Friday, so we'll be doing something tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Friday.
Yep. I'll put it up in the same place that last week's was.
Yep.
The link will be in the same place in the course as last week's, so yes, we will be doing that. Are you doing that this week, or is Jason doing that? You know? I don't know. Jason?
No, I'm probably me.
Oh, you?
Jason's
Oh,
on vacation.
yeah, he's on vacation. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I did forget about that.
Maybe
Okay.
Antonio. We'll see. We get it.
So there you go. So you get a new instructor this week. So if you hated Jason last week, show up this week. If you loved Jason last week, he'll be back next week.
Yeah.
That one. Okay. Kumar wants to know, and this is probably a little bit in the weed, but how to manage a config file for production, local, and test environment.
So that's typically you can use git ignore to do that, and then you don't push those files up to it. There's also in .NET we also have transforms where we can transform the config file if we do push it around. So there's a couple ways that we can do that. Typically you have multiple config files for each environment, but you're not pushing those in the Git repos. And then based on the environment that it's running in, it runs the correct prod environment. So like, it's fairly easy to do with .NET. So I don't have a link to tell you how to do that right away, but
that's kind of the path. Yeah,
you have and it's a little different depending on which version of .NET you're using, how they're doing it. But in general, you'll have multiple config files, and then it picks up the one based on the environment it runs on, the correct one. So,
okay. And yes, we would just like to publicly apologize to Jeff. He keeps hitting us up with technical problems.
Apologizing today for us.
Thanks you too. We'd also like to add to that apology. He's clearly affecting our stream today.
I really like your cowboy hat. I think that's appropriate for space. So
we don't have to go that far. Let's just apologize and leave it. I'm not gonna. Sorry, Jeff. Didn't mean to.
I'm gonna order stuff for Christmas, and it's just gonna all get canceled. That's what's gonna happen.
We're never getting anything from Amazon again. We've been now Amazon blacklisted.
That's it.
Oh, here's a great question.
Okay.
Dan Buffington wants to know: should I take a QA job if that is the first job offer I get?
Yes. It's pretty simple. Like what I tell people is take the first job that you get that's in the area. So QA, if you don't know this, QA can also lead to coding jobs. So here's the thing you need to think about, Dan. Number one, if you're going to a company that has a QA team, they also have a dev team. So if you can go into that company, work in the QA roles, you'll also be scripting, you'll probably writing unit tests, you'll be coding some. You will get to meet people that work on the dev teams. Do a good job in the QA role, start talking to the lead dev and say, hey man, I would really like to code. I'm working on my stuff. Do you think I could make a jump after I get some experience? You'll know their products, you'll know their systems, and it's an easier jump for you to jump over into that dev team. So I think money is better than no money. So like if you're sitting there without a job, take the QA role. Right. And at least you're making money. And dude, QA roles do pay well in the upper levels. It's not like they don't get paid. They do pay well, especially if you're running the QA team. It's a very important role for the company. So I would take it.
Yep, definitely. And Farhan wants to know your opinion on the mirn stack. Is mirn worth it in 2021? To add 3 more years? So will it be worth it in 3 more years?
So my problem with mirn is Mongo. So like, it's not React, so it's the database that you're using. So like, I think React's worth knowing. So like, that's what I would focus on more than anything. And then I would make sure that I understand SQL and I would understand Web API. So will you find mirn stack jobs? Yes. I think you're going to find way more like pick your JavaScript framework with Web API backends. That's what you're going to find way more in the next 3 years. So yeah, learn mirn right now. Do some mirn stuff. No React, and then but I don't think you need to sleep on doing an enterprise projects with Web API and C#. You can use both of them, and then using something like SQL relational databases. I think it's important.
Okay, MSV. Slightly off topic, but we'll talk about it. Is every firm data/web hackable, or is there any ways to stop and protect the hacks? So many spywares in the news.
So is there any way to stop it? I don't know if there really is. I mean, there's a lot of things down there to make it a lot more difficult.
Here's the issue. You can't stop what you don't know, and that's what a zero-day exploit is. You don't know that it exists. And trust me, there are lots and lots of zero-day exploits. So, no. So, yes, everything is hackable. No, you can't ultimately stop it. You just make it more difficult.
But a lot of times, you know, when I read more and more about the pipeline hack that happened early in the year, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what did they do? I mean, it seems like they would have their fixed out. Apparently, they had an open VPN.
Yeah.
The dude that had a VPN password to that, he was compromised. And apparently one of the passwords he used was also his VPN password. So they just went right into the VPN and then it's game over. So were they hacked? Sort of. But like,
hacking is this like
he gave his password out, and that's not really a hack, you know. Like,
no, well, I mean, social engineering and password compromising seems to be most of what we see these hacks where they start. It's not, you know, there's not some dude at a computer typing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, like throwing commands at like a remote machine. That's not
right.
You know, that's not the way you think of it. But I
think mostly what happens, Kevin, is two people on the same keyboard. That's usually what happens. Yeah.
That's the ultimate hacker, right? Same keyboard. I'll take the BGT line on the left. You can take the NYH line on the right.
And I'm typing with my left hand, you know. So.
Oh, you're holding back.
Yeah.
This is an easy hack. You're doing it left-handed.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's apparently no, and there's so much stuff that you can do, so many exploits if they go into, you know, but like there's things that they need to do, like encryption at rest, which is encryption at rest means that if you steal the hard drives, then there's encrypted at rest. But if you have access to the system, then obviously you can get through around that. You need IPS and IDS, like intrusion detection and you know, all those kind of things that happen. You need to have monitors on all your stuff, especially if you want to correct it. And then you need to make sure that passwords and things like that are rotated. Everything should be two-factor. I mean, like, just especially if you're allowing VPNs into production systems. So,
and I think those things you have to force that stuff. Because it's a barrier to people, right? It's a barrier to the user to have to use two-factor. It's a barrier for them to have to change their password. So guess what? If you make it optional, they're not going to do it. They're just not. If two-factor is optional and changing your password every 90 days is optional, it's never going to do it. That's why a lot of these companies, you see it forced. There's a 30-day forced password change. Two-factor is through one of those keys. Like, you know, one of the random numerical keys that changes every 60 seconds because you have to force people into doing that, unfortunately.
Yeah. So anyway, good question.
Yeah. But if you ever work at you can only minimize it to a certain point. If you ever work at like a financial institution or something, or some kind of an IT company in general, you'll have those tokens, hard tokens, soft tokens, where there's those keys that rotate around every so often. But don't forget, that's still a physical thing. You can still bypass that if you have the key.
Yeah, so like even that, even the RSA tokens have been like compromised, like, you know, where they can predict them what they are. So like what they're doing is there's an algorithm that could predict.
Of course, it's not random. You have to generate it.
So they just figure that out and then they can generate the number. So
well, there has to be a pattern for it to match at both ends, right? That's how it works. Yeah. It's two things running simultaneously across the same algorithm. So if you can figure out what that algorithm is, then you can figure out what the number sequence is.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a seed typically, and then and then you go from there. It's a big number, but they can figure it out.
Yep. Okay, I'm not quite sure on the question, but I guess can you do IoT with .NET? Maybe is the question.
So Internet of Things, yes, you can do it for sure. So. Definitely.
You messed around with that a little bit before, right? You messed around with like Cortana and those kind of things, and the hue lights and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's some other stuff out there that also operates on that kind of thing, and so you just have to look at like what chipsets it supports and boards and things like that. If your machine is in that realm, then you can definitely do it with .NET. And there's other companies and other languages out there, but you definitely can do it.
I'm gonna put this up here real quick. Azai Jones says, "Can't wait for the bug tracker." It is coming. We're wrapping that up. It is coming very, very soon.
Yep.
I wanted to put this up too because look at that name branding. That's hot, Azai. I like that. That's good. See, this anybody that's thinking about branding their name for because we talk about that in the course. Any of you that are in the course talk about branding name. That's what you want to go with. Something that's good. I like that. That's like good job on that, man. That's awesome. Okay, let's go to the next one. Back to I Love Europe and North America. Says, whenever I'm working at any job and if I get a task, I have the fear in my mind saying, I don't know if I can implement this feature or not. I don't feel confident. How can I build the confidence?
So, like, I don't know. There's a lot of times that I'm presented with problems and I'm like, man, I have no idea how to do that. But I've solved enough things where I'm like, oh, I'm going to figure that out. So, like, and ultimately, once you have more experience, you'll realize that no matter what the feature is, and you start thinking abstractly, it's kind of like this, or it's kind of like that, or I just need to figure out this, and then I'll know how to do it. But in general, if you're building a website, I mean, what do you got to do? You got to collect some data, you massage the data, you present the data to the screen. And that's why you need to think in terms of patterns. And when you start thinking in terms of patterns, like how do I get information? How do I get it from the user? How do I get it from the database? And how do I massage that in the middle? And then how do I present that? So like for a website, that's fairly easy. And then when you go to mobile or desktop, you have other patterns like, how do I navigate from one place to another? How do I keep it with state? How do I store my stuff in the database? And so like all of those problems become patterns, and then you can feel real confident. Yeah, I can do that. Now, if you're presented with something that's like crazy, like complex, like some kind of, I don't know, reading the brainwaves of monkeys or something like that. It's like crazy,
that's easy.
Complex.
That's
yeah,
easy.
Exactly. That one's easy. All right.
That one's easy.
I couldn't think of anything harder.
But
I think you can think of it in terms of patterns and start breaking down the individual steps that you want to do. That's what the first question is. Think about the steps, the flow, the things that we're trying to do, and like, what am I ultimately trying to do? And then you'll get down to the one little nugget that's the core of this problem. That's the hard part. Everything else is exactly the same. So if you can do that, you can start feeling confidence with experience. So
there you go. I know you're hot on this one. No one wants to know, what do you think about WebAssembly?
I love it, man. I think it's gonna be hot, man. I'm still very bullish on it. Is it next year? We'll see. I think .NET 6 is going to change a lot of things, and I think that you're going to see. I've seen a lot of customers that are using Blazor for their stuff. I mean, like, people are very excited about Blazor.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a lot of projects being built in and around Blazor.
I saw a recruiter message the other day posted being like, looking for a Blazor developer. I was like, wow, these guys are like after this already.
Yeah, they're after it. And then I do think this: once you see the new types of web apps come out, people are going to go, oh, that's what we can do with Blazor. Everyone's thinking in terms of like, I want to build my restaurant website in Blazor, and I can do that in React. Yes, right. You can. And that's not what we're talking about. This is going to be a new class of apps that we can build on web that we couldn't do before. And so when Premiere gets released as a pure web product, everyone's going to go, oh, so WebAssembly does make sense. Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
I think that's the thing. Desktop-like experiences in a web environment is going to be killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, on to our next one. Omar says, "Is it possible to find such as front developer? Find work. Sorry, such as front-end web developer with years of experience. I start today until July 2022."
Well, yeah. If you have a year of experience, you should be employable. So long as your skills are up to date and you can prove what you've done, yeah, I think you can get a job.
Yeah, if you're saying you're starting now and you're ending July 22, so you're saying a year from now, basically saying a year from now, he's saying a year from now, can I study and get a job?
Yeah, so here's what you need to do. You need to build a portfolio of projects that you can show someone next year in the future. So yeah, can you build enough experience, but through self-study? Yes, our front-end course will get you there. Except we're looking at more full stack people, but you can do the same thing with front end.
Don't get hung up on the time frame though either. Like, don't think about it in terms of like with the years of experience, because what you're gonna do, start coding now and not stop until July 2022. No. You gotta live in the meantime, right? So Like, what else are you going to do during that time? If you're doing a whole bunch of other things,
Right.
maybe it's going to take you longer. Maybe it's going to take you less time. Maybe you can dedicate to it. Don't worry about the time that it's going to take. Worry about building things, and can you build those things? And however long that takes is how long that takes. Don't get stuck on the time part of it.
Yep.
Could be we see people do it in a lot less time, but we also see people doing it in a lot longer time. They get sort of sidetracked. So, yeah, your mileage may vary. Sid here wants to know your opinion on WordPress.
I think it's fine. I mean, like, I think content management systems for websites is like a necessary thing. I mean, like, whether that's Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress. I mean, like, and I think you can make a living as a WordPress developer building plugins and things like that. I think it's totally valuable, and I think it's viable. It's valuable and viable. That's what I was trying to say, Kevin. So yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm not doing it. I want to do other things, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that I'm not interested in building WordPress sites. But at the same time, it is a massive market of people that have built their websites based on WordPress. So, and I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon.
Nah, that's here to stay for a while.
What's driving PHP development in general? Like, if you see, when they say if PHP is in this much usage, then it's
that amount of it's WordPress. That amount of it's
all
the
of
rest.
it's WordPress and this other for other stuff. So like, but yeah, so no PHP and get in there and build some WordPress sites. It'd be cool.
There's another interesting question we get kind of common recently, maybe in the last few years, but more common since GitHub Pilot for sure, because that's what people are thinking about when they ask this question. What do you think about the future of web development? Is it going to be automated to a degree? And I think the to a degree part is kind of the you've put your own qualifier on it already.
Yeah, so no, I don't think so. And I don't think it's going to be less developers out there. I mean, like, so even with GitHub Autopilot, it's just not like, we need to demo that thing is what we need to do. Like, someone needs to let me in on the this thing. So I've
seen some of the demos of it. It's kind of interesting, but it is only to a point. It doesn't do everything.
To a point. I mean, so like, let's think about web development in general. So let's say that we're building, I don't know, like a site that tracks inventory. All right. So could you go to GitHub Pilot and say, build me an inventory system? Probably not. So, because we got to get a UI.
It's far too complex.
We've got to get an algorithm. We've got to build models. We've got to build a database. We've got to build security. And then probably we're building it for a customer, and their view on inventory is different than everyone else's view. And so, like, it will always have some type of, like, you're bringing creativity into the equation and building it. Now, already in .NET, can we scaffold views based on the model? 100%. Yeah, like we can make things that are automated for us that build those, that can scaffold those views at us. But typically, those views are functional, they work, but they're not exactly laid out like you want. Typically, it's in one column, and you want to arrange the data, so you end up having to massage those views a little bit. But are they functional? Yeah. So I don't think automation will ever lead to groundbreaking development. It's always going to be something that you can get there a little bit quicker, reduce the mundane, the repetitive tasks. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to code something up to make it good. I
think that's it. I think ultimately it can solve smaller, very well thought out problems. It can't solve bigger, abstract problems.
Right.
It just can't. But you're right. It's a tool to help a developer. It's not, the automation part doesn't ultimately get you your end result. It just helps you get there faster.
Yeah. You know, and then too, even with Autopilot, it's looking at everything that's been written.
Right.
So like,
right. It's not inventing a wheel. Right.
It's not inventing anything. It's looking at, it's standing on the shoulders of all the other giants out there. So like, it's just never going to be there. I mean,
but is Skynet going to take over? Creativity. Yes, is the answer.
Nah.
Moving on.
We'll destroy Skynet.
Big Alt says, I currently work in an insurance company as a claims processing technician. The company noticed I was good with a computer, and they are transitioning me to the dev for Microsoft Access. Should I take it?
Yeah.
100%. You're closer to your goal, right? Like, yeah, no question. Yeah.
Yeah. and then you'll tell them, hey, you know what? This Microsoft Access is not a good idea, but I'll do
Yeah,
it.
we should be doing this some other way. Because big
like,
old, just heads up, that is the answer. Like you should be doing it in Microsoft Access.
So I got two words for you: SQL Express. I mean, that's what they need to be doing. SQL Express can go up to 10 gig, and that's you should never do Microsoft Access for anything other than like holding your record collection. I mean, like it's just like
it will ultimately fail.
A record store, don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just no code options or low code options, but like I think SQL Express is a way better option.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would take the job, do the best you can, keep learning how to code, and then take that job and transition into another job, a more permanent dev role that you like.
Exactly. You're more in a tech role there, so I would say your transition is going to be easier to move from that tech role into an additional tech role versus moving from insurance agent to tech role. You've got a bit of a bridge there. I would take it.
I'll take it.
Ritik wants to know, you can have a one-word answer for this if you want. Is C# worth it for web dev?
Yes.
Man, I thought you were going to say no then.
No, it's definitely worth it. I think there's you need to know a server-side language for web development. Like clearly, once you start building websites, it goes past the front end like in the first 5 minutes. Like in other words, like the moment we get to some kind of complexity like authorization, authentication, we got to have some kind of server side to make those apps work. And C# being dominant with ASP.NET and Web API, .NET 6, those are the dominant things that you're going to need to learn how to do. And so C# is definitely dominant in that arena. Now, can we use Java? Yes. Is there JavaScript with Node? Yes. I just think for the bigger projects, it's going to be C#. So absolutely 100% it's worth that for web development. So
we are all in on 100%. C#. Another C# related question too. Does C# have better security than Node.js?
So let's just talk about web security, okay? And so C# doesn't implement web security, but let's talk about ASP.NET with identity, okay? And then the things that are in place for us to implement security, like authorization filters, that out of the box enforce roles and permissions, whereas you got to roll your own with Node. So like I was talking to a guy the other day and they're writing their own implementation of Auth 2 on a project. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like I don't understand why you would invent that part of it. Like, and so they're rolling their own. And so like with C# and ASP.NET, that stuff is already thought out. Millions upon millions of people have went over it and it works really well. And then you have things like cross-site scripting with other filters that validates the token automatically. So there's a lot of things that are built into the whole ecosystem of .NET and ASP.NET that make your website secure out of the box. Whereas in Node world, you've got to bring a lot of pieces in or roll your own to make it work. So if you're rolling your own security versus using identity, C# is like 1,000% better.
Right.
If you have a proven thing that you can pull into Node and you can integrate it, okay, then that's fine. So
that's still an extra step. You've still got to integrate it. And I would also say, if you are rolling your own, like you better be asking yourself why you're rolling your own. This is a pretty important thing. Trust me, you're probably going to make a mistake, and then it's like, why even bother?
So like so for Web API, like we're going to enforce something called JWTs, web tokens. So like that model is proven, and that's what we're going to implement on Web API. So like that's just showing you how that works. Is it's pretty proven. So C# no, but the ecosystem yes is very secure, and doesn't mean that Node isn't. You just got to kind of do more work on the Node side. Anyway, hope that helps.
Let me see here. This is an interesting one. Harrison wants to know, how important is it to learn algorithms for front-end developers?
I think you need to know logic and like how for loops work for front-end developers for sure. I mean, so when we talk about front-end, there's different classes of front-end developers. A lot of times if you're just on the design side, I'm just laying out CSS, HTML templates.
Then you don't need any of it.
Yeah, but then there's also this side where I'm also working with React. And so I've got to cover the binding and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're going to have to learn how to program, how to.
Yeah, I think the question is, does it include does it include any JavaScript? If it does, you're gonna have to start getting into this stuff. If it doesn't, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. Let me see. Patricia says, if I were considered for some management/project management responsibilities in my current job, how would companies view that when I'm applying for dev roles? Would it help or be irrelevant?
Hey, everything helps, man. So like if you're doing PM or running teams or whatever, it helps for sure. So if people want to move you into that role, make sure you're like a 60-40 coder if you still want to stay coding, or you're doing some project management. Typically, if they're using you in the PM role, means that you must be getting things done on your end. You understand the product, and they want to make sure that your expertise is spread across more than yourself. And so any time that you can help others win, it's just going to help you in your career long term. So it definitely helps. But if you don't want to do that, I get that too, where you're like, dude, I just want to finish my tasks and go home, and I just want to worry about my stuff. And I get that too. And there's nothing wrong with either way. So, okay. All right. I think we're about closing up here, aren't we? We've got a couple of minutes. If you got a burning question, super chat Kevin right now so we can get it in before we get out of here. So,
I'm going to jump out of order a little bit here. I'm going to do this one. We're going to help Itzo out here. Itzo's only 14.
All right.
So that's cool. Thank you for joining us. He's very passionate about programming, which is awesome too. Hope to get a CS degree or something when I'm older, and was wondering what I should do leading up to that day. So basically he's asking, or he or she, I'm not quite sure, is asking what they should learn.
I think what you got there, I know HTML, CSS, JS, and React, but then you need to add database to that and server side. So that's what you need to know.
And then just build some things.
In on that stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome that you're doing that at 14 too. Yeah. I wish I was doing that at 14.
Yeah, awesome.
That's very cool. Not quite sure about this question, but this is it's kind of the name intrigued me because it's Alan Turing's alter ego, Tulan Oring. That was interesting. But just in general, is copy paste bad?
No, I think you can end up cut and paste stuff all the time, and you don't want to like retype everything in. But if you're just copying code, say from Stack Overflow and shoving it
without understanding it,
that's bad. I mean, so like, because you don't know kind of what you're looking for. But if you know what you're looking for, then it's okay. I mean, I use cut and paste or copy and paste in the self-paced course. Like when I've got a large chunk of HTML that we've already written before in one tutorial, then I'll say, all right, we're going to use this section and we're going to paste it over here, and then we're going to modify that. So I think it can be good and bad, but I think mostly it saves you time from retyping it.
Yeah, I think that's the caveat, right? If you understand it, copying it and pasting it is fine. If you don't, copying and pasting it is gonna be bad because you're ultimately gonna.
And early on, it's probably worth typing it in multiple times to get used to doing the mechanics of coding.
Yep. Which actually brings me to a point too. Some people have asked for source code for some of our projects in the course.
Not gonna happen.
That's something we're not going to do. It's like we're actively not doing that. It's not like we forgot to do it. We're not doing it because you won't learn by just literally pulling down the project and pasting it. It doesn't mean anything. So, we got a super chat from Manny. Thank you, Manny.
Yeah.
I'll do your question here in 1 second. Oh, we did. You might have missed it.
Okay.
You may have missed it, Manny. We actually answered it, but thank you for the super chat. If you go back and look at the beginning, we did already answer it, but just to what did we say here? I'd like to get a remote. Yeah, we did already answer this one. You can go back and watch it.
Maybe
basically
he's thanking us for answering it, but like if you didn't get it, Maddie, we did answer it in the very beginning.
Yeah,
so like
go back.
That's cool.
Go back and watch. We definitely did.
Oh, we got another super chat here. Thanks, Lala. Cool. All right.
Let me fix this. So Lala's still in the beginning stages of goes for walkthroughs for Dressbook.
This weekend, I'm doing those right now, and so like I'm going through those, and those will drop this weekend, maybe tomorrow.
There you go.
Lala. And so look, we'll get you the answers to those. So I will say that address book and contact form are very similar. So try to do, if you've got the contact form solution, look at the address book and see if you can do it. And then compare your solution to ours when it drops.
Yeah, and I'm actually playing with some of these things too on the side. I was able to do the address book one. That one was fairly simple to me because we'd done a lot of it before. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna leverage what I've already done. Like I know how that works. I know how that works. I haven't done the invoice one yet though. But
a little bit harder, but like it's definitely.
But again, once you've got the idea of the layout, like you can. I think most people can figure that out.
Yep.
I think they can. But thank you for the super chat, Lol, and thank you for the super chat also. Was it Manny? We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back when? Tuesday.
Tuesday, we'll be back Tuesday, and I'll probably see you guys in the self-paced course tomorrow on the webinar, and we'll talk about some stuff tomorrow in the webinar. Maybe JavaScript, maybe Bootstrap, we'll see. And then we'll get after it. Maybe you know what? Here, I'll just tell you what I'm going to do.
Go on then.
I'm going to drop invoice in the webinar tomorrow, and then I'll release the video at the same time.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
We'll do.
Okay, so we'll do the invoice solution live. Oh, I like that.
Or Adroit. I'll do it live, and then we can also drop the pre-recorded version as well. So
okay.
I'll work on that.
And for those that can't make it too, for those that can't make it too, it's 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We do record them, and I will replace the recorded one that's up there with the new one from this week too. So.
And the solution will also drop in the self-paced course as well. So like if you don't
I like it.
get there for that, but we'll walk through that real easily and just talk about Bootstrap. So I think that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So Lala, you influenced the course. Appreciate it for the super chat. It was worth it. So now you're going to get your solution tomorrow.
I like it.
It sounds cool. All right. Well, good luck. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Good luck. Keep coding. We'll see you later.
We'll catch you guys later.